Now this, Bill Gates making the case that climate summits like COP30 in Brazil should prioritize what truly improves human life rather than chasing emissions numbers. Copenhagen Consensus President Bjorn Lomborg joins me now. How would a climate summit improve human life?
Well, the argument, of course, is that they're saying we should cut carbon emissions so in 100 years temperatures will go down a little bit, and that will make the world a tiny bit better. But what Bill Gates is telling us is, look, there are lots of people who are already suffering right now. Why don't we talk about how we could help them in the best possible way? Some things would still be about climate, but a lot of things would be about just fixing, maternal and newborn death, fixing hunger, fixing poverty, these very basic things that a lot of people around the world are struggling with.
So spend money on that rather than chase emission cuts. That's what that is.
Yes, and also when you do something on climate, and of course that's what everybody down in Brazil is talking about right now, when you do something about climate, ask, is this a good investment for people right now, or are we just doing this to feel virtuous? Right. Because a lot of this is really more about feeling virtuous.
You're always looking for innovation and ways to solve any climate problem. I put it to you that there's a lot of innovation taking place right now. For example, the introduction of much more nuclear power, which has no CO2 emissions at all. And that's one form of innovation. What else have we got?
It's a wonderful opportunity, but of course we need to get it cheap. And right now in the US and many other rich countries, it's not. But we should get that price down. And China is showing the way. China gets nuclear power as cheap as it used to be in the US in the 1970s. Of course, fusion is also this, this holy grail. If we could essentially mimic the sun, we could have infinite power and it will have no pollution possibilities. So that could be an amazing thing. We should definitely be investing in it. And then, of course, solar and wind. If we can get lots of batteries, if we can find lots of other ways to do this, we could potentially make that cheaper. And geothermal, again, one of those sources that we know much better how to do because we've learned how to drill really well from fracking. And unlike solar and wind, it's a 24/7 energy source.
Would you flat out just stop the war on fossil fuels? Because it looks like there's an awful lot of countries where green rules are being withdrawn.
Well, look, a lot of people are saying, oh, we should have a world without fossil fuels. No, you won't have that anytime soon. Even the International Energy Agency just came out yesterday with their new report where they say even by mid-century, even in an optimistic scenario, more than half the world's energy is going to come from fossil fuels. We're not getting off fossil fuels anytime soon. And for a simple reason, because this is what has powered us for the last 200 years and made us rich. Again, we should focus a lot on innovation because if fusion or fission came through, we would be doing that instead. But until that comes, we're going to keep a lot of fossil fuels running.
Last one. Do you think that this particular COP30 summit has lost its relevance?
Well, there's a reason why it's called COP30, because we've had 29 other summits before that. So obviously they're not doing very much. I mean, the Paris Agreement 10 years ago was the biggest one of them, but still that didn't matter all that much. So yes, it's mostly an irrelevant exercise and a lot of people getting together and feeling good about themselves. But again, it's probably a good idea to have a place where we have these discussions. But I think Bill Gates' intervention saying, stop just doing this to feel good about yourselves. Make sure we do this because it actually helps the world. Could have a big impact.
Thanks, Bjorn. Always good to see you. Don't be a stranger. Come back soon. Thank you. Bjorn Lomborg.